right, guys, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Sentence to Greatness podcast with your host Isaac Conaway and Marcel Zborek. Today we got Tommy back in the house. We're going to cover some good topics. So, Tommy, welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming on. And how you been, brother?
Good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure when we can chop it up, answer some questions, talk a little shit. You know, it's always a good family gathering.
Yeah.
What's going on with Sid? He finally got scared of us.
Man,
Dude's busy.
He's too busy for us, man. I'm telling you. I have to fucking get contact to his booking agent now. You know,
Yeah.
2 episodes deep on Sentence to Greatness. He's got a fucking client. He's got an agent for his bookings. So what we wanted to start off with today and kind of focus the podcast on more of the training aspect of things. We have been getting a lot of questions about training, about how you set up your training, how do you set up your off-season training, how do you set up your prep training, what are some of the things to look for when trying to build your own training program that's right for you. So let's jump straight into that. So Tommy, let's start off with your off-season training. What are some of the things that you look for or take into consideration when you're starting to build your off-season plan as far as your training goes?
Main one's going to be what is my goal with my training right now, which is always pretty standard. It's to be, get bigger, add more size. From there, it's going to be, what kind of frequency can I recover from and what kind of volume can I recover from?
Now, for the people, sorry to cut you off, for the people that are listening, as far as like your frequency and volume, what do you mean by that?
Frequency, how many times am I hitting a body part per week? Mm-hmm. And then the volume would be how many, coupled with the frequency, how many sets am I hitting for that body part, per week as well.
All right, fair enough. So do you kind of, when you start your program, something that, do you look at, is it like, are you looking for your overall size? Or are you kind of taking your weaker per se body parts and putting them at the beginning of your, training cycle? Or do you put them at the end after a rest day? How do you go about that?
I mean, to a degree, for where I'm at now and the way I like to train, I think that's a big important part too, is if you don't like the way you train, then you're probably not going to stick to it. There's going to be adherence issues. So I think that's important for, at the end of the day, you have to like how you train. So my favorite split, it's like Old Faithful for me, is a push-pull leg split. So the days it would be push, pull, off, legs, off, and then repeat. So legs has an off day before and after because it's the most demanding for me. It's also probably what needs to come up the most along with my chest.
Gotcha.
So I like that structure. And then I have 2 rotations. So there's 2 push days, 2 pull days, and 2 leg days. That way I can rotate exercises out and I won't plateau as quick as far as strength progression.
Right. So if somebody's looking for like overall improving their overall size, what are some of the exercises that you make sure that you implement? Like let's say a new client comes to you and he wants to just add an overall size everywhere. Cause I think for a lot of people that are asking these questions is they need to develop their body everywhere. What are some of the exercises that you would be looking at putting somebody through, to ensure that they hit overall growth everywhere? Like on a push day, pull day, legs. What are some things you're like your staples that you like to go with?
For me, I mean, the first thing it would be, I would increase their frequency. That would be the main thing, is make sure that they're hitting the body parts more frequently than maybe I am. And their volume would be lower to warrant that. So they're getting more opportunities to progressively overload the muscle with a variety of different exercises. Now, for me personally, where I'm at as far as like what do I connect best with, I think what's really growing my legs is leg press, hack squats, pendulum squats. Um, Chest has been an interesting one. I've navigated some shoulder injuries from baseball when I was younger, so a lot of the plate loaded machines I tend to connect with better. Some dumbbell movement, some dumbbell pressing. I don't really do any barbell anymore. I'll do Smith machine presses with the varying degrees of incline, but I don't really get under a barbell anymore as far as an incline, decline, and
Mhm.
I haven't flat pressed in years. Um, and then back is going to be any of the thickness movements pulling from the floor,
Mhm.
just for the whole posterior chain. And then a bent over barbell row would probably be what I would go to. And then anything chest supported too. So any of the plate loaded machines are great options. Depending on what your gym has and where you're at, there's a lot of different variety. You
Yeah.
can even do, I've even done it where I've done 3 rotations of each push, pull, and leg day if I really wanted to space out the amount of time I have between, certain exercises. So I think with the advances in equipment, there's a lot more options.
Yeah.
Obviously, I just like to train. I like progressive overload. I like to, beat the logbook, and
Mhm.
that's how I've been able to gauge progression for basically the last 6 7 years.
Yeah, I think all three of us kind of almost kind of the same mentality now as far as it comes to training. It's the progressive overload, tracking your lifts, and making sure that you're heading in the general upward trajectory. It's not necessarily always a freaking rocket to the moon every time you do a particular lift, but there's some kind of a progression to it, whether it's better reps, more weight, you know, same tempo, and then you're progressing in either one of those things every time you hit the lift. Like I'm saying, not you won't always beat them, but you have to look like in the grand scheme of things, the past 2-3 sessions, like it's heading in an upward direction. So Isaac, I know you mentioned recently, like you've always been same thing, logbook, keeping numbers, and having your two push, two pulls days, and kind of alternating them or whatnot.
Right.
In a general degree, that's what you have been doing as well. But lately, you mentioned that you had to kind of pull yourself away from that for the past few weeks. Um,
Yeah.
can you kind of touch on that? Because I think that's kind of important because the way you mentioned it to me was like, hey, my body wasn't feeling this at the moment.
Right.
So I went what I thought was right for now. Can you
Hmm.
kind of touch on that? Because I think what a lot of people need to realize that we can't fully answer these questions for you. We can
Right.
kind of guide you guys in the right direction, as in it's different for everybody, and you have to learn how to like read your body, read what connects well, read what what lifts fit what you need, and if you like performing in, if you don't like performing them, how your body feels after them and recovers after them. So can you kind of touch on that, how you go about like reading your body and realize and kind of tell people how you gauge of when I should push, when I should back off, and so on with that.
Um, I mean, obviously, lately it feels like Father Time has been catching up with me. But I, what I've been doing is obviously I've been training hard, just like we all do, right?
Yeah.
And the last couple weeks, I just kind of been noticing that I'm not recovering as fast as I normally would, right? And especially considering I'm in a blast, phase right now. So I mean, I should be recovering fairly well. Food is there. I don't have a ton of cardio. I'm not beating myself up. And so I know my body well enough to know that, okay, something's wrong here. Like I need to basically, in a sense, deload, and it's kind of been a deload for the last couple weeks, more so than just a week like I normally would. But after those couple weeks, I did notice, like things changed a bit and my body started to wake back up. But I mean, what I'm noticing is, before I started to deload was that like I said, things were just sore. They were way more sore, longer than they should be, and joints were hurting, and it just I don't know if it's, some other stuff involved too, maybe lack of sleep or sleep wasn't as great, I'm getting heavier. So like, maybe the sleep apnea is starting to kick my ass finally. But anyways, yeah, I've had to just back off from my normal style of training as well. Like, like Tommy was just talking about progressive overload and, push pull legs pretty much been my, my jam for a while too. And, yeah, I just couldn't go that route anymore. Like I had to kind of switch it up and put in some more volume, but also bring the weight down some than I normally would. And it's been working fairly well. I kind of stayed away from the logbook the last few weeks, just kind of trying not to like mentally fuck myself into thinking that, oh man, I'm like losing, any type of progression here. And just going with the mindset to, get my training done, train hard, basically take what my body gives me and just run with it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been working a lot. And I actually threw in like kind of like an arm day in a sense, like I wouldn't say it's a full arm day, but I mean on my pull days, I'll do like 2 exercises of biceps and it'll be like, 3-4 sets each one. And it's just volume, man. There's nothing that I'm trying to like,
beat any records or
yeah, I'm not trying to curl anything fucking heavy. Like I'm just trying to get some blood flow in there. And I feel like it's been working for me, man. I can definitely see some difference in, from last year to this year. And yeah, that's pretty much been it for me.
Is your body feeling better now? Are you feeling like you're recovering better? Are you feel like you're sleeping better?
This week definitely I felt the difference. And I've probably been sleeping the best these last like 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. I've been getting about 8 to 9 hours of sleep a day, which is probably the best sleep I've ever had in my life.
Okay, so major those changes that you made majorly improved all the aspects that you were talking about, just the rundown feeling and feel like you're not always getting out of a hole before your next training session. Yeah, fair enough.
The other thing was too, man, like I try not to beat myself up during the holidays, right? My old way of thinking was, all right, we got some food coming in, holidays are here. I need to train fucking hard. I need to do a bunch of cardio so I don't get fat, and I just told myself to like fucking chill, enjoy the holidays, eat the food. If I don't feel good training, I'm not going to train that day. Because during this phase, I feel like I have to like just listen to the body. I can't mentally push like I would if I was in prep, or if I was like fully recovered into an off-season phase.
Yeah,
it's a little different this time, but yeah, that's been the main difference lately.
Fair, yeah. So I know that this is going to be tough for us, but I really want to answer this question for this particular person. So back to our square one, right? So let's touch on all the key points that like when he's trying to put together his workout routine, what he should touch on. Okay, so first is figure out
how long has he been training. Is it someone particular? Like, do you know how long he's been training?
Yeah, he's been bodybuilding for I would say about 3-4 years. He's not new to it, but he's definitely got tons of room to grow. Needs muscle everywhere. So needs just overall body development.
Right.
Okay.
So I would say, first, take a look at what your previous training has looked like, and figure out if you are recovering in that split. That's kind of like the first thing I would look at, as well as, what your goals are, and realistically looking at your schedule, because not everybody can make it to the gym, 5-6 times a week. So let's say I always ask somebody, what would you, in an ideal world, how many times a day can you make it to the gym where you're there 100% and it's not forced and you're there, to kick ass? And that could be like different for everybody. And then another thing that I look at when setting up a client is kind of try to get their bearings of how hard is a bad word. Kind of like how intense can they get in their exercises? Because I feel like that's really big when setting up a program, because it's almost like as a coach or as somebody that's helping somebody out, you have to kind of judge their character in the gym, as in like, are they the ones who like if you give them a Widowmaker set or like a rest pause set, are they like as just one working set? Are they really going to take it there? Or are they the type of person who are we going to need to add a ton of additional movement because you know that they just can't really with the lower volume of things with just like a one top set? Are they really taking that top set to where it needs to be? So when I set people up, I try to figure out, okay, well, I don't really trust you yet with when I tell you to do one top set that you're really taking it there. I just don't think you can mentally tap into that yet. Because I've been there before where like I thought I knew what that it is and what that entails. And it still took me years to learn that, down the road. So if they're the type of person where I feel like they can't fully take that there yet, I will add few more movements for them in each particular body part. So, figure out how many times per week you can make it to the gym, where it's not forced. So let's say, and that will kind of like dictate like how I do their split. So, if it's push pull legs, or if it's more of a bro split, it just all depends on how many times that particular person can make it to the gym and, not have to be forced to do it. So those are kind of like the first thing that I look at. Um, and then I try to get their bearings of like, okay, what movements do you like the best? And where do you feel the most connection when you're performing a particular movement? So what exercises feel the best? Um, and after that, that's kind of where I start structuring those things around those particular movements. And then it's going to be like a few weeks of a back and forth with the client. Like, okay, let's run this week, see how you feel. Give me feedback on if you feel like you need more, you need less. Are you recovering before your next session, or are you still in a hole? So those are kind of the things that I look at, and then I'll adjust it from there accordingly.
Right.
So how do you guys go about it?
I mean, very, very similar. My update form that I have people fill out covers a lot of that. And then I always let people send me videos. It's on them to take the initiative to do it, but it is
Yeah.
something I offer. So if I've always said the ones that take that initiative and send me the most videos usually make consistent, steady progress.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say some of the ones that I've worked with that haven't sent videos. I think it's just your level of how long you've been doing this.
Right.
I think there's some correlation to that for sure.
Usually, if somebody's seeking me out for coaching, they've at least seen how I train on Instagram. If they're from out of state, if they're local, then it's different. Then I can train them
Yeah.
in person
Yeah.
for a handful of sessions to basically sign them off. It's almost like a quick little train with me for 12 sessions. Then you have an idea of what I'm asking, and then we can move to the sending me videos
Yeah.
and communicating back and forth. Communication is really the main key.
Mm-hmm.
If I have an update form and I ask you how's your strength, how's your endurance, how's your fatigue, and it's just good, 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 you're not that invested in coaching. So I'm not
Right.
going to pry shit out of you.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that are giving me feedback that I'm improving on this movement, but I've noticed I've plateaued on this movement for
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks straight. Like, all right, let's swap that movement out. Like, that's what I try to
Yeah.
get through to people is coaching is very much back and forth.
Right.
It's a lot of communication and doesn't just have to be in the updates. It depends on what your system is. If you allow your clients to talk to you throughout the week, but I spend a lot of my time on my phone every day, just answering questions, answering videos, sending
Yeah.
voice memos. Like, it's a lot of
Yeah.
work sometimes, but for me, that's how I've gotten the most success out of people.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
feel that a lot of people that are, newer people now, there's a lot of information. There's an overabundance of information, which
Yeah. It's like
can
a fucking
be
overload. Yeah.
can be troubling because you can go 19 different ways just to start. So luckily, when I started I had a Jay Cutler Flex Magazine article with a back workout, and I was like, I'm going to do that.
Right.
And go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, let we you guys tell me if you guys disagree with this then. So to answer that question, finally, um, pretty much put together a program that fits your schedule, has movements that you like, run it, see if you recover, give yourself feedback. If you think you need more, you need less, how you're feeling, and then adjust it from there.
Yeah, it's like setting up a diet, man. You run a
It's so
base.
hard, right? Like,
You run a base. It's actually harder than setting up a diet for somebody because there's so many different
yeah,
variables involved. You got to run like basically a base training program, see what works, figure out what's your best movements, what you connect the best with, what you don't like, what feels the worst, and then adjust from there as the weeks go on. But
yeah,
obviously you got to give yourself time too. You can't just adjust every 2 weeks or a week. Like,
right.
give yourself some time, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks on these movements. And then from there, adjust, according to if you're working with a coach or yourself, you know?
Yeah,
What
at
do you
some
think?
point you just have to, whether it's diet or training, you just have to start and
Right.
document what you're doing for, I
Exactly.
would say, 4 weeks. Document what you're doing for 4 weeks, write out a plan, stick to it for 4 weeks, assess all the analytical stuff you've taken from it, and then make changes as needed. If there's no changes to be made, ride it out, dude. I mean, at this
Yeah.
point, I can stick with a training plan for months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might make
Right.
a
And what,
couple little
right.
variations of changes, but once you're locked in on your training and there shouldn't be a ton of variety
Variation.
really.
Yeah.
And obviously
And then,
the more advanced you are, that makes the difference too, right? So if we know
Absolutely.
somebody that's just starting off, yeah, 4 weeks, things ain't working for you, find something new, change things, or keep the things that do
yeah.
work, get rid of the things that don't. But like if Tommy said, you're advanced, man. Set your program up, run that for a couple months, 2, 3 months, see how things go. And that person knows what to take out and what not to take out.
Yeah, that's the thing that once again I feel like it's a constant theme we go back to. It's a training just like your diet will not be fancy the longer you do this. We don't keep adding more fancy stuff to it. The longer we do it, I feel like the simpler we make it. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with diet for me and the same thing with training for me. It used to be I used to fucking think of fucking upside down hand push-ups, fucking, you name it. Like,
Right.
I've tried it because, I thought I needed to do everything and try everything, all the exercises, hit all the angles. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um, you know, um, but the longer you do it, the more you realize the simpler the diet is, the less variables you have that can mess things up. It's kind of like the same thing with training. Keep it simple, and keep it effective. So the key word is here effective on both ends as far as your diet and your training. If it's effective, keep it there. Keep riding it. Keep going until it stops being effective. If it stops being effective, figure out why it's not effective, fix it, run it again until it stops being effective. It's just a boring circle for most people, but guess what? That's just the way it goes. It's a constant cycle of progression.
And,
You
and
know.
for the people out there that are new, you're not always going to progress all the
Mm-hmm.
damn time. Okay, once you get to a certain point, you can only get so strong. You can only recover so fast. So people need to realize that too. Like, yeah, the
Patience.
movement, yeah, you may not be progressing like you think you are, but if the movement still feels good, and you still feel strong, nothing hurts, keep with it. If that feels good for you, stick with that movement for a little longer. Keep going. Don't just get rid of it because you're like not progressing. Where
Yeah.
we get to a certain point in your bodybuilding career or whatever you want to call it, that things just don't progress like you think they will or you want them to. So, but we all know better that we just keep at it. Like, I'm never going to get rid of lateral raises. I'm never going to fucking lateral raise 100 pounds, but I know they work for me and I keep them in all the time. That's just, one particular movement, that I can use as an example.
Now, do you guys, speaking of that, do you guys think that like in my head, when I think of movements, right? Like, I think of in my head as like, there's certain things that are like strength movements, right? And then there's certain things for me that are not strength movements. They're just kind of like pump and activation movements. Do you guys kind of think of things the same way? Like he mentioned lateral raises. Like to me, a lateral raise,
Yeah.
for me in particular, I don't count that kind of as like a marker of my strength on my shoulders. I use more of pressing movements as a marker for my shoulders. Are you guys kind of the same way around as far as that?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, I mean, I just try to do everything as strong as I can with
Well,
proper
right.
execution, proper form. So,
Yeah. Any gains in strength are always like, good. We're not saying that's bad. Like if you need to move up, you move up. But once again, like I'm not using that always as like the marker of my strength,
right.
because usually with lateral raises, like I'll either use them as like a warm up movement, right? Or I'll do it at the end, towards the end, to kind of just wrap it all up. Um, I don't think I've ever used that as like my second or third exercise where like everything is warm and I'm fresh and I'm ready to kind of gauge my strength.
Early
That's
on,
just my thing.
early on, I did. Like in 2019, I was progressing. At one point I could only lateral raise like fucking 40 pounds, and I'm like, man, I'm just stuck here. And as I started getting more into progressive overload, checking out DC training, and I know that's not part of DC training, but I threw them in there anyways to see how much I could progress. And at one point I got up to 65, 70 pounds, whatever, and that was pretty much now where I stay at, because I don't think I need to go any further past that, because it's probably going to end up hurting myself. But yeah, I did progress on those for a little while because that's just what worked for me, and I liked it.
Yeah.
It felt good. But now I don't progress anymore. I just use them, like how you said, as either warm ups, in getting into my workout, or at the end to kind of like, just exhaust everything.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Tommy? Because I think you're the guy that's like you said, everything's always 100% balls to the wall, as heavy as you can.
With that particular movement, not anymore. I don't use that as my main movement for, the side head of the deltoids. I'll use maybe a seated lateral machine or a cupped lateral, and then I
Mm-hmm.
would do those further down the line. I just, after a certain point, I don't feel like I get anything out of going heavier with those.
Yeah.
I still can. I mean, I've done, upwards of 70s, 80s with some
Mm-hmm.
swing, obviously. I'm not saying that's wrong. I think you have to do both for
Yeah,
me
Yeah.
for sure.
personally. But um, there was times where I was dealing with shoulder stuff that I really couldn't press anything above 275, and I didn't really want to try because it was iffy if, how it would go. So I would use all of the movements we're talking about as like first, and then I
Yeah.
would press last. That way I
Right.
didn't have to really, I couldn't push harder than, what my max was anyway for that period. So I think
Right.
you can put them anywhere. I think you should put them anywhere. I think so if I had that movement, say third in my programming,
Mm-hmm.
and after like 3 months, it stalled, I might rearrange my programming to where now it's later or it's first,
Right.
or I might change the rep range, make the rep range higher, and kind of reset my logbook. Um, like that's probably a majority of the questions I have on my Q&A today are like, do you do leg extensions first or last? Do you do deadlifts first or like? There's no either or. I'll do both.
Yeah.
If I deadlift at the start of a session, I can probably pull. I know I can pull a lot more than if I'm doing everything else and then deadlifting last.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the either or mentality is like, don't do both. Set up different
Yeah.
Yeah.
phases of your training where you're maybe you're going to open with lateral raises, and then you're going to press third, and then maybe some days you're going to press first, or some
Right.
rotations.
For sure.
Now, riddle me this. So let's say your program, right? Like you have your program written out. I don't know if you do, Tommy, or if you don't, but like um lately I've been using a program that's written out. So everything's preset. Let's say you get there and you start like on your first movement, first exercise, and it's not feeling good. And by good, I mean like you're just not feeling that movement today. It's just not feeling strong, maybe does not feeling stable. The range of motion itself is just not feeling good today. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a certain exercise sometimes you touch it and you're just like, fuck, I'm not there with it today.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys push through and do that anyway, or do you move to something else?
I'll try it. If it don't feel good, and I definitely won't go heavy on it. I know that. I'm not going to
Yeah.
push the weight if it's not feeling good. I'll give it a few sets to see how things go. And if it continues to stay that way and nothing's improving as far as how I feel, then I'll just, switch to something else that I know works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, same thing. I might push through, and I might just, after a certain point, I might realize I don't have it today, strength wise. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
get to as high as I can with proper form, weight wise. Um, I might call an audible for the whole session. I might everything I had planned out. It's like, all right, I'm doing half of this, and then I'm going to assess my recovery after
Yeah.
this session. And then this doesn't happen too much anymore, but like there's times where like I've been one exercise in before and I've left the gym, like very rarely, but it's like those moments
yeah,
like I just knew I'm like I'm pissed. Maybe I got something else going on outside of the gym.
Yeah.
My head's not here. I'm
yep,
probably going to get hurt if I stay here. I don't even want to be here. That's when I probably started a deload the next day.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yep,
that's an option too. I think, some days you
I
just
kind
don't have it.
right,
right.
right. Oh yeah,
I kind of did that today. I went in to train and then Isaac came out. We talked for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. And then after that, I realized I was like, I got this podcast coming up. And it's just like, I was like, I don't want to fuck this training session up by trying to rush through it. And I was like, you know what? Live to fight another day tomorrow. You know what I mean? I'll just slide everything down one day and get a good training session in tomorrow. And that's all it was. I wasn't, you know, that's the one thing that also took a long time for me to learn that it's cool. Like I used to, when I first started, I used to go like a month without taking a break off of training at all. Like not,
Hmm.
I'm not kidding you. In my head, it was like, go, go, go. You got to keep, you're running out of time. You just got to keep working. And little do you know, it doesn't work that way. That's just not how it is. You got to
yeah,
recover. You got to, make sure that each training session that you actually complete is a good one rather than just, being in there and
quality,
half-assing it. Not fit.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Quality over everything. Um,
Yeah. Definitely, I feel like
so
the older you get, though, you start to realize like, okay, those days come more often, than they were when you were younger. You
oh,
start
for
to
sure.
you start to feel like today ain't the day, man. And I'll just pack my shit up and go right back to the house. Like, nope, it happens. But listen to your body
Hmm.
for sure. Learn your body, listen to it. That's what's going to give you longevity in this game right here. If you don't, you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and thinking that's what you got to do and never
Yeah.
stopping. You're going to burn yourself out. You're going to get injured.
Now let me play devil's advocate here.
Yep.
What if you're in prep?
I've stopped in prep. I don't care. For me, like I don't give a fuck. I don't care if it's prep or off season. I'm listening to my body. Because if I get hurt in prep, now we're fucked. More so than the off season. And now what?
True.
Now you're
Very
now
true.
you're now you're backed up, and you don't even know if you can finish your prep out if it's that serious. So even more important than prep to me. You know.
I think it's important, but I think it's all individual. It's dependent on the situation. I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm 9 times out of 10 with a client, I'll just probably devolume their plan. I'll take volume out.
Yeah.
So now it's because my thinking with training in prep is you want to hold as much of your off-season strength as you can. You're going to lose
Hmm.
a little bit, but 85 to 90% of that strength, as strong as you got in the off-season on the movements, should stay in prep. Down the
Yeah.
last inside 3 weeks, maybe you
Yeah.
don't want to do certain things, and I get that. I go to more of a bro split at that point too. But my thinking is if you're dropping 60%, 50% of your strength off, you fucked up. Something's
No.
wrong. Like
Yeah.
you're fucked.
Or you're mentally, you're fucking weak.
You're mentally, yeah.
The mental component's the biggest one. Is like people associate prep with being weaker. People
Right.
associate cruising off drugs with being weaker. If you tell yourself you're weak, you'll be weak, right? Like we live in the desert. If we thought about how hot it is in the summer, that's all we're gonna feel is how fucking hot it is. Like
Yeah.
I give you a weather forecast for the June, July, and August. It's hot, it's hotter, and it's hot as fuck. That's the three temperatures you need to know in Arizona: June, July, and August.
That's it.
So, your mind will go where you want it to go. You just have to not give it preconceived notions that because you're in prep, because you're in a caloric deficit, because maybe you're doing less drugs if you're in a cruise phase, that you're going to be weak. And that's actually something I started doing with my younger guys is basically putting them in mock preps so I can get them to learn that before they actually do a prep. Is look, you can hold your strength. It doesn't matter that I'm taking food away from you every week and you're doing more cardio. None of that matters. It's all a decision at the start of the session.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that, that's something I wish I would have done when I was younger, is had a coach put me through something like that. But I didn't really get into bodybuilding that way.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm really glad you mentioned that, because it's something I didn't think about that we should have talked about today. So I've been seeing that so much from certain people on social media, Instagram, like, oh, goodbye to being strong, just moving for now and stuff like that. I see it all the time when people aren't in prep, and it's just like, why you were already set up for failure by just posting that on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, by literally taking your time out of your busy ass prep schedule to post on Instagram that you're weaker, you're automatically weaker at that point.
It's funny, man. It's funny because like I just learned some of that stuff, man, probably the last couple of years. And I'm gonna be real. The person that I've like heard say the most, and that I learned it from was from Dusty. Hearing Dusty say that, I was like, he's right, man. I'm like, I shouldn't be fucking weak 5-6 weeks out. That's just me being a bitch,
Yeah.
And I took that finally in 2020, and I ran with it, and it helped. It did show a lot. I preserved this, a good amount of muscle towards the end, and then every year I've gotten better, obviously, since then. But Dusty was the first person to actually really talk about that and give me that insight of like the mentality you're supposed to have going into prep. Like, it should be the off season, the same mentality, pushing weight, but obviously listen to your body, but still keep pushing no matter what. When you're 2 weeks out, it's a little different,
Yeah.
You try to play it smart. You don't want to get injured before the show. You still try to stay heavy, but just kind of bring some of it down a little bit, back off a little bit.
Just don't take anything to failure, right?
Right. Basically.
I think it all comes down to volume too. Like, you're that close to a show, you're only going to get maybe one or two of those sets to really push. And then you might, I've had as low as like 5 working sets 2 weeks out. As you get in, tax the muscle. You're not growing at that point. Get in, stimulate, and get out.
Right.
Sure. I'm a strong believer that it's not necessarily that your strength drops off in prep. It's your gas tank gets smaller. You know what I mean?
It's you saw Marcel. Remember, I was training with you guys that last like 2 weeks out from USA's, and you guys are sitting there wondering how the fuck I'm still pulling more weight than you guys, and you're like, you guys are in full off season. You're like, you and Nick are both looking at me like, the fuck is wrong with you? And it was, I had that mentality that I was just like, I'm not gonna fucking be weak. Right now.
And it was the same thing. It was not that you got weaker. It's just your gas tank got just a little smaller. Like, obviously you're gonna feel fatigued faster. Like, you're gonna feel fatigued faster.
Yeah,
exactly. You're gonna feel that fatigue set on way quicker than you would when you're in full off season. I mean, you literally got more gas in the tank than you do when you're doing cardio. Food is really low. You're very deep into that prep. Your body is just a little bit more beat up. That's understandable. Like, if a client goes to me just like, hey, I feel fine, my strength is holding on, my gas tank runs out quicker, I would understand that. I'd be like, yeah, I totally know what you're saying. Like, you feel the difference when you're on your third and fourth, your third movement when you're in prep than when you're in your third movement in the off season. Sometimes you're still like getting fully warm on your, third movement. You're like, this is feeling good. Where, when you're in prep, sometimes that could be on towards the tail end. This is kind of the same thing both of you guys mentioned, that like, yeah, you tax the muscle, you get the stimulation that you need to retain it. But that doesn't mean back off the weight just because you feel like you're weaker.
Right.
It's like, hold on, let me reword that. You feel that you're weaker because the weight feels different for you. That's the best way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still fucking lift it.
Right.
Yeah.
It just takes more mental.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit of more of your mental oomph to get that bitch up. But you're gonna get it up.
That's
it's just that it's this. A lot of it is that.
My mindset now, what I tell myself now, especially this last year in prep, was keep pushing hard because you have to keep the demand for the food, right? Your body needs to know that it wants food, right? So you have to keep that demand for calories. Once you start backing off and the body no longer demands those calories, that's when you start to become, you start losing size and shit. So that's what I keep in my mind now, when I'm in prep. I got to keep that pressure on the body,
Do you guys think there's something to that? Like, let's say you don't create a big of a demand for energy, so for calories, by training as heavy or as intense or as hard, whichever word you want to use, when you're in prep. Then your food has to drop, right? Because you're not getting leaner, or you're not getting lean at the rate that you would like to be. Are you guys more of a proponent of keep the demand higher so the food stays higher, or keep the demand lower but you eat less food? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you guys more of, like, or are you guys trying to find the sweet spot?
Come on.
Or you're like, I know your answer. He's gonna be like, give me all the food, motherfucker. I'll do 6 hours of cardio if I have to, if I can eat good meals.
Man.
How do you guys feel about that? Because personally, I think there's something to it, keeping a little bit more food in. But as long as somebody's training harder and creating the demand for it, I'm not a big fan of, adding food to do more cardio per se. But, is there something to that, creating the demand and keeping the food higher to keep your fullness, keep people more mentally sane in prep because they feel like they're eating more, but at the end of the day, they have to expand it. But what do you think, Tommy?
I mean, I don't fucking care about your sanity. If I'm coaching you for a prep, you would know by the time you started your prep well before that, like, your feelings don't matter in prep, as far as, you just expect to be hungry. Not to be like hardcore, but I would never feed someone because they're struggling with being hungry in prep. That doesn't make sense to me. As far as
I guess to reword the question, do you think that, like, being able to keep more food into somebody is going to keep them fuller and keep their metabolism burning higher, rather than, keeping the exponential lower because they're not training as hard and then having to eat less food?
Well, absolutely. I think, but that's dictated by how they performed in their off season. So give me a client for 8 months that progressively increases their calories and keeps cardio at more of a maintenance level, but still keeps it in. Where are you starting your prep at? Am I starting at, say, 4,000 calories? Now I have a lot more room to play with. Whereas if, like, I started at 2,600, that cake that I got to take away from as prep goes on is a lot smaller now. So that's why off season becomes so important, especially when you're talking about females, because if I got a female that, we're doing 45 minutes of cardio a day in the off season, and we're only getting in 1,800 calories to start a prep, man, you don't have a long way.
You're gonna be in trouble.
Then you're looking at hour and a half plus of cardio sessions down the stretch, and you're looking at maybe sub 1,000 calorie days, and it's just not going to be as optimal. Whereas if you take the necessary time away from the stage to build that metabolism higher. Your
Right.
metabolism
Yeah.
is fucking humming in the off season. It wants to slow down as you're pulling food away in prep. So that's why the need to stay, to keep the training as intense as it was in the off season, to keep your movement up with your knee, your cardio, everything like that. That's why that becomes pivotal, because your body will start to fight you and not want to get lean.
Right.
Yeah.
As you're getting lean.
Yeah. You can't go from a deficit to a bigger deficit. That's what I always tell people. They come
That's
to
what-
me,
yeah.
like, yeah, let's get into prep. But I've been dieting for like 6 or 7 weeks already. And I'm like, great. So you want to go from a deficit to a bigger deficit. Got it. That is a great way to start this thing off,
Right.
So I know we all got a bunch of questions to answer. And we already answered the first one. We just kind of took the long road of answering it.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy, go ahead and shoot one over. What do you got over there?
I got, this was particular to me, but we can jump around on it.
Yeah.
Do you do your stiff leg deads last or first in your back workout? So I don't actually do my stiffs on my pull day currently. They're a part of like a density day, so where it's legs and pull, but I do them first. That's a compound movement for me, so that's going to be either first or second. I might do like a isolation hand movement first and then that pull, or I'll open with them, one of the two. But never have I done them that way last. If I did a stiff leg last, it's probably a dumbbell variation.
Right. Same way for me. Same way. Do something like he said. Do some type of curl, hamstring curl, whatever. Get some blood flow into the area first, and then go into the stiff leg deadlift. Right after that, where you're still strong and you haven't used up most of your energy yet. Because I think obviously doing anything heavy later on in that type of session, especially if it's a density day like Tommy said, probably more at risk for injury. So
yeah, those have always been a tough movement for me. So yeah, every session I've been hitting them that I do them is usually second. First movement is going to be some kind of warm up movement, walking lunges or like just body weight walking lunges to get everything loosened up, hips opened up, or like a isolation hamstring movement, like a curl or something like that. Just get some blood flow in the area, and then same thing, get to them. Never at the end. I mean, I wouldn't say never that I've never done them at the end, but it's definitely not something that I would be putting in towards the end of my workout, because I think like it's such a great exercise, such a bang for your buck. I would want you to approach that exercise with a lot of gas in the tank.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. What else you got?
I didn't get any.
Would you put leg extensions as your first quad movement on leg day for someone who's very weak at those?
Well, let's start off with that. Weak at those, are we saying weak quads? Are we talking strength, or are we talking size? Like, you know what I mean? Because there's a difference between having weak quads and bodybuilding, as in like you don't have a big quad sweep, or if you're just not strong. I don't know if the person probably didn't mention that.
I think he means I'm guessing he means if they're weak at that movement. So if you're weak at leg extensions, would you put them first? I would not. But
I would approach whatever your weaknesses are kind of like first in your training. But like I'm saying, I wouldn't really use like how much can you improve in a quad extension? Like, you know what I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. To me, there's just better exercises to make your quads stronger. I wouldn't use a leg extension kind of as of a marker of how good your quads are or how strong your quads are from the front. I would use different exercises for that. Quad extensions are a great exercise, obviously, but I like to resort to them as like either a warm up movement or at the end, kind of like a movement where I wrap everything up.
Right. Yep. Pretty much same way.
Typically, yeah, I'd program them at the after, my compounds. I've done them before. That's not wrong. So like we were talking earlier, I would do, 4 months with them at the start, and then maybe 4 months with them at the end. I move things around.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Well, but see that I want to answer the question for that particular person, because I feel like we're leaving it in the limbo. But like, if you're trying to get better at something, me personally, like whatever the exercise is, I would put it towards the beginning of my training. But it's like after I feel loose and warm and good to go, that's when I would tackle the things that I'm weak at. But
Right.
to me, when in my plan, like if I'm weak at something, it's going to be like a weak body part that I'm trying to train. So I'm going to pick the most optimal movements to improve that weakness. And I just don't see a leg extension being as like a great exercise to improve really any weakness. I feel like you should pick something better. That's
Yeah.
just me.
I don't see it as like you said, as something that needs to be worried about whether you're weak or not on that. Can you connect on it? Cool. If you can connect on it, awesome. If you're not going to be super strong in it, that's okay. I don't think that's something that you need to focus on
Right.
progressing on. If you don't connect with it, then don't use it. It doesn't have to be an absolute. It's not a staple. One of those types of movements. So, and I've done them at the beginning of sessions and I've done them at the end, so.
You're right.
Yeah, it's just a tool in the toolbox. Don't get hung up on
Right.
one
Exactly.
movement.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. What else you guys got?
Got one more.
Go ahead.
We kind of already answered this, but where do you like to place deadlifts in your workout, at the beginning or at the end?
Beginning for me, for sure.
Yeah, I like to pull heavy, man. That's like that's an ego movement.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
now I get this question quite a bit too. Do you deadlift on a leg day or on a pull day?
Pull. Well,
Pull.
I could. It could be like a
Either
density
way.
type day. It would just depend on how much lower back loading your leg day had if you were gonna deadlift on that day. So for me, if I'm pulling on a leg day, I'm not doing anything else that loads my lower back like that.
Right.
Just because fatigue's gonna my CNS, I won't be able to make it through 2 rotations of that programming.
Yeah, for me, it's always been on a pull day for the majority. I don't.
Yeah.
I very rarely would do it on a leg day, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just personal preference for me. It's going to be heavy deads at the beginning, and then from there, it's going to be some chest supported stuff and maybe some pull downs afterwards. For me, it's just how I would structure myself.
Yeah. I saw some guy not too long ago actually like going on somebody about deadlifts being like, if you do a deadlift properly, it should be a leg exercise, not a back exercise. And that's why I figured I would ask you guys that question, because he actually went in details like, well, during a proper deadlift, you activate 13 muscles. Okay. And more of those muscles are in the lower half of your body than your upper half. And I'm like, holy fuck, dude. Okay. Put them where the fuck you want to put them. You want them in a leg day because you believe they're a leg dominant exercise, put them there.
Right.
If you feel like putting it on a pull day because you feel like you're using more of your back than your lower body, fucking put them there too. Put them where you want them, where you feel like they're most optimal. Don't worry about what Joe Schmo says or what you think the science says. Put them where you like them. Put them where it fits well in your program. So you feel like they're effective and you recover properly before the next one. But I personally would never lift anything off the ground towards the end of my workout. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it at the beginning.
I got a question here. Question is, do you feel stronger using a weight belt, or do you feel weaker?
I can do it without. I can do either or. The only reason I wear a weight belt is I'm trying to control my midsection. I didn't wear one until probably like a year ago.
Personally, Isaac knows that. I mean, you barely see me wear a weight belt ever. I tried putting on a weight belt like on some of my like bent over movements when I'm trying to do like a PR set on like a bent over row or rack pull or a deadlift, RDL or a stiff legged deadlift. But I know what I noticed is when I do put on a weight belt and I go for my PR, I actually end up struggling more than I have to because I feel like I can't breathe properly through my stomach. So I think I got used to lifting even on my heavy lifts without it. So now when I put it on, I don't like the feeling.
Right.
It almost makes me anxious during my lift when I'm performing it. And I tried loosening it even, but then it kind of comes back to like now it's just too loose and I might as well not fucking wear it.
Right.
So,
Right.
Personally, go with what you're comfortable with. If you're trying to control that midsection, then yeah, get used to wearing one. Um, if if you don't have a problem with your midsection and you're not worried about blowing out your midsection and you feel comfortable without a weight belt, sure, that's fine too. Um, just make sure that you're not relying on a weight belt to feel like that's the only way you can lift heavier weight, if that makes sense. Um, I saw that the other day on social media too, where somebody was like, well, now I can go back to lifting, 20 to 30 pounds heavier because I could put that weight belt back on. And it's like, you shouldn't be relying on a weight belt
Right.
as, all of a sudden you got 20 pounds stronger. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So personally, I don't use it, just because I feel like my breathing is off, and it kind of hinders that for me personally. Do I
Yeah. And
think they're useful? Yes.
your waist doesn't even grow, you fucker. Your fucking waist stays small as hell, so you ain't got to worry
Yeah,
about it.
but on the other hand, my waist doesn't grow, but nothing else grows either. So it's like, it's like cool, man. Your waist
Yeah.
doesn't grow because nothing else grows.
Because for me, if I don't use a weight belt, I know my obliques get bigger and bigger, and that's just how my body's built. It's made. I have big obliques, man, and obviously I do feel stronger with no weight belt because I'm using my obliques more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I have it on, yeah, I'm a tad bit weaker, but mentally I feel safer. So I mean, it kind of balances itself out. So
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna blow a hernia every time I wear it, and I do like a bent over movement. Well, no, seriously. I mean, I've had a hernia before, so
yeah,
I have like that weird pressure in my lower abdominal wall, like right below the belt,
yeah,
right above my junk and below the belt. Like there's a small room of play over there, and I just feel like there's just pressure. I don't know. Anyway, I'm fucking weird. It gives me anxiety just thinking about it. So, what else you got, Isaac?
I don't have much weight training questions.
It doesn't have to be training. If it's a good question, fucking
Um,
ask it. Fuck it.
somebody asked me, how do you continue to stay motivated every single day?
Jesus.
I'll let Tommy answer this one because Tommy's really good at this one. Go ahead,
No,
Tommy.
I don't know. It's
Enlighten us.
you're gonna have to. I don't want to be a dick and rant.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Hey,
No, because
let's
I get clients that ask these type of questions too. So I'm trying to give the right
this
amount
okay.
of dick
So this in particular,
give them something they can use.
this client in particular, I know he's been kind of struggling lately to get back on track with his things. He's just a lifestyle client, He's not us per se, right? So
Okay,
obviously
it's a big.
Right. It's a little different if you look at it that way than if it was like somebody like ourselves that's into it bodybuilding for a while now, eating
Hmm.
the same shit day in, day out. So, take that for what it's worth then.
I think you got to do some internal work to see if the goals, because I imagine you had him fill out a questionnaire that asks him what his goals are, why he's hiring you, right? So
Right.
I always reflected back on them if they come to me with motivation issues is, read what you wrote me however many months ago. Is that still the case? If
Right.
it's not,
Yep.
then maybe you need to
Evaluate.
sit down and figure out what is important to you. Or maybe
Right.
you just needed to reread what the prior version of yourself wrote when you hired, for in this case when he hired you. Maybe he needs to see what the purpose of it all. Maybe he got lost, along the way, or
That's a
life
good idea.
happened, or whatever the case may be. But I usually try to direct it back to them. But if you're looking for, like, the day to day motivation, the videos and the motivational speakers, and like that's cool. Like I listen to some of that shit sometimes just as like noise, but anything I've ever accomplished in my life personally, it was because I wanted to. And the stuff I didn't accomplish, I didn't actually want to do it. Maybe it sounded like I did, but I wasn't into it.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's a lot of people, they end up having imposter syndrome with certain things that they say they want or they want to be a part of. Bodybuilding being a big one, but this guy's lifestyle. So, you have to be able to, you got to be able to have that talk with yourself of,
Yep.
do I actually want the things I think that I want? Or do
Right.
I maybe want them because society tells me I want them? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I know someone that they told me, they were a weight loss client. They didn't work with me, but this is what they told me is that during while they were working with a coach, anytime they felt like cheating on their diet, they would set a timer for 20 minutes. And during that 20 minutes, they would actually contemplate, like, all right, you're going to give yourself 20 minutes, and you're going to, if when the 20 minutes is up, you still want to cheat, go ahead and cheat. And then they would, like, she described it as like she almost shamed herself for 20 minutes straight. And then when the timer went off, she was like, I've come too far to fuck up now, basically, is the mentality. So you might need to create a system like that where it's like, however you need to make yourself accountable, or what, I don't know what his issues are, but basically what I'm getting at is like, you're your own fucking motivation. There's no black and white answer. It's got to come from you, from within.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not there, no amount of self help that anyone gives you is going to be enough.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, for me personally, it's a combination of a few things, but the main one is you've fucking got your ass handed to you 3 times on stage. That's like my main motivation now. You have not won the last 3 big shows you've done. You're not there. You're no matter which way you look at it, you're not there. You're not there, bud.
Right.
I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what any type of smoke that anybody blows up your ass. It's pretty plain and simple. You're just not there, dude. You're not
Right.
good enough. And
Right.
you know, that's just
But
what gets me going. You're just not good enough. You're not fucking good enough. And guess what? I want to be good enough. When I started this, that was the goal, and I want to be good enough to attain that goal. So until I attain that goal, and then I set my sights on something else, that's all the motivation I need.
Right. Right.
outside of that, too, I think, and this could apply to either lifestyle or bodybuilding, is you got to be able to find joy in what you're doing. Like, I mean, we're all obviously on the competitive side of things. We're working towards the next show or the next this, the next that all the time. So it's pretty easy to draw motivation for the most part. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing with my life than what I'm doing right now and what I've been doing the last, decade. This
Yeah.
is I like
Yeah.
weighing out my food. I like writing meal plans. I like starting diets in December because my GI is you know what I mean? Like, I like training the way I do. All the things that I do day to day, I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. And I live a life where I could be. I could get a fucking speedboat and go hang out on a lake. I don't know any lakes out here because I'm not from here, but you know what I mean? Like, you
Right.
got to be able to find joy in what you're doing. So I think for lifestyle people, it's like, if there's zero joy, like if you went on a quest to get yourself in shape and you hired a coach and you're having zero fun doing it, you don't enjoy any part of it, and you can't even find one thing that makes it worth it, quit. It's not for you. Do something else to be physically fit or be healthy, you know, hike, do anything you want, but don't do something that if it's making you miserable day in and day out. And that goes to like the jobs you're working, anything, you know what I mean? Staying in
Yeah.
relationships. I think motivation comes from joy too.
Right.
That, and then what you also have those clients, right, who like it really none of this brings them joy, right? Like nothing about dieting or exercising brings them joy. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
I like to resort to, well, you came to me. Usually those clients are the ones that came to you with some serious health issues. Like if none of this brings them joy and personal look um and the mirror was not their motivation to reach out to you, it's usually health related. At least that's what I found in my experience. And with these people, like, you can't use any of that to motivate them. You can't use weight loss to motivate them. You can't use the mirror to motivate them. They don't want to do any of this. They dread every single moment of it. I always refer to, hey, do you want to be around for your kids? Do you want to be around for your family for the next few years? Because the rate you're going, you're not going to, you know. I don't wish that upon you whatsoever, but I'm just being honest with you at this point. I know you don't like this. I know it's not fun, but would you rather be doing this to kind of try and get your health under control? I'm not telling you to have a six pack and be a Mr. Olympia, but I'm telling you to be fairly healthy so you could be around for your family. If that's what you want to do, guess what, bud? Get your fucking work boots on and let's go. And if you don't give a shit about your family and you're fine with leaving them tomorrow in the state of things that there are, then cool. Continue on with your path. That's all it is. And if you're not comfortable, if you were to leave tomorrow and you're not comfortable with where your family is, where you're leaving them, how your loved ones would be affected, then get to work, because you might not have a tomorrow at that point.
Yeah. I think you make a good point there. I think that, like, especially this person in particular, what they have to assess is that, okay, are you chasing a certain look? Like, is your goal to look a certain way, right? Are you trying to be fit with a six pack, or, you know, if that's not the case and or if that is the case and you're not having fun doing it, like Tommy said, you're not having any joy and you're losing that motivation, then maybe change your goal up, you know, like, and it goes back to what Marcel says, you know, change it for health reasons, you know, maybe do this so you can stick around for your family and you just look good, but you don't have to look like a bodybuilder, you know, just do it for health reasons and look at it that way. I'll say, okay, I'm extending my life as opposed to I'm trying to look like a bodybuilder, because you're not going to, a lot of people aren't going to have fun trying to be a bodybuilder. Like
I was about to say
it's,
that.
it, it's not always fucking fun for us. Believe me when I tell you that, you know, it's not always fun. It's just something we like to do. And it's something that, for me personally, it's something that gives me structure and meaning, right? You know, I base everything around me that I have, all my goals that I have in life are based around my bodybuilding stuff right now. You know, so how I look, how I perform, that's what makes me my money. So of course that's what's going to drive me. That's my motivation, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how I look at it. You might have to change your goals and say, okay, maybe that look that I'm trying to achieve is not achievable for yourself, but change it up to maybe a health perspective. Like, okay, I want to be healthier and
Yeah.
just live longer and longevity, you know?
Yeah. And I think lately, like, I don't know if you guys noticed that about, you know, a lot of clients come to me and they say First of all, they've never had any experience as far as like bodybuilding goes. Like they've never done this in a structured way, manner, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
But they come to you saying like, I want to become an IFBB pro, or I want to look like a bodybuilder. And it's like, okay, so you want to look like it, but do you really want to do the things that are going to make you look like it? And then when, once you get going in these things, it's like, oh, well, I don't have time to eat these meals. This looks like a lot of food. Like, and if that's the fucking first thing you hit me back with when I send you your initial plan, right off the bat in my head, you're like, that's it, bud. You're going to finish your fucking 3-month program that you purchased from me, and that is the last time I'm going to fucking hear from you. Because you think you want to, yeah, maybe.
Might finish.
Yeah, might finish the program. Well, I don't care if he finishes it. It's paid for. But I'm saying after your program runs up, I probably won't hear from you again. So it's like you think you want something, but you don't want to put in the work for it. It's like because of how mainstream, well, not necessarily mainstream, but how much bigger fitness and bodybuilding is getting, it's like you're getting these people that are coming to you and they're like, I want to be an IFBB pro. Okay. And I see that. They sent me that message like, my goal is to become an IFBB pro. And I usually hit them back with, okay, cool. How long have you been doing this? Okay. What do you look like right now? Send me some pictures. And then you get back, a scrawny kid, zero muscle, hasn't touched a weight or ate a structured meal plan ever in his life, but he wants to become an IFBB pro within the next 3-4 years. It's like, what fucking other sport can you pick up like and be like, I'm gonna be in the fucking NBA in 4 years when you've never shot a fucking basketball? It just doesn't make sense. Right. I get it that bodybuilding doesn't have like an acquired skill set that you need to hone over years per se, right? Shit. But the work that you need to put in is a skill set in itself. Like being able to read your body and feed it properly and give it the things that it needs is a skill that you're going to hone throughout years of doing this. Like, I don't know about you guys, but every year you're like, how much fucking more can I learn in this? Like, what can I add to my arsenal of like picking up heavy shit and putting it down and eating that you didn't know last year?
Right.
And then at the end of that year, you're like, holy fuck, I learned so much and I still need to learn so much, and just keeps going and going. So it's like, don't come in here expecting to look like a bodybuilder, or fuck, to even look like one of us within a year time. Or a lot of people come to me and they're like, how long is it going to be till I look like you? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. If you want to know the answer, I've been doing this for about 8 years and I still look like shit. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question to you. Like, what do you want? What do you want me to say? That me giving you what I know now is going to automatically cut my 7-8 years of doing this into like 6 months? Will it make it faster? Maybe, if you execute everything perfectly to T, because I spent a couple years of my initial career just kind of not knowing what the fuck I'm doing and figuring things out. You kind of fast track that because it's like you get all this information that I didn't get access to, or I didn't have anybody guiding me in the beginning. But you still are going to need to put in the years of work of compounded, same shit over and over, and getting better at the same shit over and over until you get to a certain degree. And that's with anything. It's not like bodybuilding or fitness is any different. You spent 10 years getting out of fucking shape. How do you expect to get in shape in 2 months?
Right. Exactly.
It just doesn't work that way. So anyway, that was my little conundrum for the fucking day. Next.
Yeah. Let's get one last question in. This is a kind of a funny one. Most embarrassing thing you've done training. For instance, I folded into a lawn chair.
That was my wife, wasn't it?
That was your wife. She sent me that question.
You guys can answer that. I'm gonna see if I can find this video and show it to you guys. Oh God.
Most embarrassing thing I've done training. I mean, most embarrassing I've done training a client. I can definitely remember this one is I was trying to show them a movement and I fucking ripped ass loud as hell. And I was actually training two people at once, and they just stared at me because they were scared to laugh. And then I started laughing, and they laughed, and we just laughed for like 5 fucking minutes. It was pretty embarrassing, but I played it off cool, man. It didn't smell, so it was good. You know.
I've done that on more than one occasion.
What about you, Tommy?
I know at least one time I've went to pull the pin out of a stack, and there was a heavier bar above me, and it came right down on the back of my head. So I was probably like 19.
Yeah. I did something really fucking embarrassing, and like the whole gym stopped. It's like the fucking time and space stopped, and everybody just kind of looks at you. I was at Mountainside, and I did some squats. I had 3 plates aside on the bar, and then somebody called me, and I had him on my headphones, so I just answered it, and I'm fucking talking to this person as I'm taking the weights off the fucking bar. And I took all 3 plates off from one side because I'm not fucking paying attention because I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and the fucking bar flips up on me. The fucking weights fall everywhere. Shit almost hits the mirrors, just makes loud ass noise. Everybody stops, looks at me, and it was extremely fucking embarrassing. And that's why you don't talk on the phone while unracking weights, or don't talk on the phone at all while you're training. Yeah. So
you were that guy. You were that guy.
No, it was so bad because it was like the squat rack was next to another squat rack. So when the bar flipped up, it flips up, the 3 plates fall down. So you can imagine, and it's at Mountainside. So you know how they have the steel plates? It's not rubber plates. It's the fucking steel ones or the metal ones that just fucking cling loud as hell. And then the bar flips up and hits the fucking squat rack next to me, and it just fucking crashes into that. So shit starts falling on that side, and everybody just stops and stares at me, and I'm like, okay, well, I fucked that up, didn't I? So yeah, don't take off plates while you're not paying attention, because it can end bad. I'm glad I didn't fucking hurt anybody, because that bar flipped up. It's like if somebody was standing on that next side, I could have fucking nailed somebody in the head for sure. But
oh shit.
There's that, and then I farted pretty bad during a squat as well. So, but I think the first one was better.
I think we've all farted on a squat.
Yeah, I think if you don't fart at a squat, at some point it's like, are you doing it right? If something doesn't come out at some point, did you do it right? You guys got any other questions?
No.
I didn't have any other worthy ones.
I have a few. Let me see if we just really quickly answer one or two, just so people. This guy's starting to try to fight. Oh, you guys might know him. What's his name? You guys know Brandon Laird? He's another Arizona bodybuilder.
Yeah.
He just won Whitney Jones or whatever. Whitney Jones show. There. He goes, which one of you 3 who trains the hardest between you 3?
I have to say Tommy does. Tommy probably trains the hardest.
I don't know how we can quantify that. There's no
Tommy's the most intense. I'll give you that. You're the most serious, the most intense.
Tommy's definitely the most intense for sure.
I just got some screws loose. Don't Isaac's stronger than me.
No, that doesn't mean I train harder. That's for damn sure.
I trained with Dusty for a good year, so that was
right.
That's where you fucked up.
That took me to new levels. Yeah.
Yeah. No shit. Yeah.
Okay.
Dusty tried to fucking kill us that one day, bro. I swear to God. I said
there's no
hold on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was like, there's no fucking way that these 2 guys do all this shit in one day. I was like, I was fucking annihilated. I'm like, Dusty's trying to he's trying to kill us. I swear to God. I'm like, but I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to bitch out.
Yeah.
I'm just
No.
doing it. I was waiting for Yari to fall apart and die on us.
He pretty much did.
He was pretty close to it. Yari was
Yeah. By the time we got to those Bulgarians, he was like, nah, I'm done. That's it. It's a
I
wrap.
don't think he could walk for like 4 days after that at all.
No, didn't he go to boxing the next day or something like that? He said something like that.
Yeah, he couldn't do shit. He was done.
Yeah.
Tommy, we did those Bulgarians with fucking pauses and shit.
Brutal.
I was like, I'm looking at Tommy and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, oh my fuck, this
Bro,
is brutal,
after
dude.
we did those leg extensions, I was like, okay, we're done. I started like wrapping up my fucking wraps back in the bag, and then I'm like, I see Dusty walking over to the dumbbell rack, and I kind of look at Isaac and like, is this motherfucker doing what I think he's gonna do? Like, oh fuck, he is.
I saw him grab his Versa grips, and I'm like, damn, we're either doing fucking like stiff leg deads or something fucking crazy here. I'm like, and my fucking body was shot already. My legs were done. We had to do those slow hack squats. We did like 8 sets before we finally got to that top set. And then
Slow
he
it
killed us
down,
on the,
bro. Slow it down.
He killed me on the pendulum too. I'm like, fuck, man. I was beat.
Dude. We definitely never do that much in one session, so that was by design.
Yeah, right.
It had to be. We knew it was because at the end we both said like, "There's no way that's just like their normal training session."
I said, "This is it's not even like I don't. There's no benefit to fucking killing yourself like that." Fucking, I was like, "That's just crazy." But you know what, man? It did help me. Like it taught me like, okay, I can push past some like pain and tiredness for sure. You know, doing that.
It unlocks new levels of
oh hell yeah.
Preconceived limitations for sure.
Oh, 100%.
So that's the goal, is just to try to get people to tap into that for themselves.
Yeah, tap into that dirty motherfucker.
Yeah.
Here's
that kid looks good he's young. That Brandon Laird.
Yeah,
he's got a good shape, good physique, good size. He's like 22, I think.
Yeah, I competed against him.
Did you? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. You did in Tucson.
Yeah, I competed against him. That was my first impromptu bodybuilding show. Yeah, I did a bodybuilding show. I know, guys. Laugh now. Yeah.
Hey, I honestly think you didn't look too bad for being a light heavy man. Like, even though you weren't like
I won it. Yeah.
you weren't like entirely in shape. Like you know. Like
I wasn't. No. That was like 5 weeks out from my actual show, and
yeah.
But I had fun. I had fun doing the poses. Like I was really looking forward to that actually. So when I was like, I'm not making classic weight. I found my wife folding, by the way. So I'll show you guys that in a second. Yeah, it was fun doing something different than classic for sure. I could definitely, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You want to be a real bodybuilder, don't you? It's okay.
Sometimes. After I talk to you guys, sometimes I go home and I feel really bad about myself.
You should. You're a classic.
Classic bodybuilding, not classic physique, okay?
I'm just saying.
Hey, real quick, this guy asks, in the off season, in general, how much weight should I be gaining per week? Have fun answering that one.
Yeah, it's very person dependent.
Can't give you a number, but you shouldn't be gaining that much per week, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
It's not going to be. It's circumstantial. It depends on the situation. But if you're, pounds per week, then I would be worried that it's not good pounds.
Right.
So, I would say this. You got to look at a few things. Well, first, where are you at? Like, if you're coming straight out of a show, yes, first few weeks you're gonna put on a little bit more weight than usual. But after like 2 weeks, 3 weeks max, that should start kind of leveling off somewhere and slowing down. Okay, and I'm not talking like 10 pounds a week for 3 or 4 consecutive weeks. We're talking like 3-4 pounds depending on your body size, obviously, during your show, but you will be putting on
how depleted you got,
how depleted you were as well, how in shape you were. Yeah, some weight will just come on quicker, but after a little bit that's going to level off. Okay. But what I like to look at is more of one, how are you feeling throughout the week? Do you sleep well? Do you have energy? Or are you feeling sluggish and, constantly full? Two is, how are you feeling in the gym? If your performance during the off season should be king. So like that should be a huge marker of if you're eating enough or if you're not eating enough. That and your recovery. So if you're feeling really good in the gym, really strong, you feel like this body composition is kind of like where you perform your best, stay close to that. To put it into perspective, an optimal off season for a genetically blessed bodybuilder is like 7 to 10 pounds of muscle. And I'm talking like Reign Supreme Genetics. This guy is a fucking machine, right? So if that's not you, don't be expecting to put on 30 pounds of muscle in an off season. Like it drives me insane when somebody's like, oh, I'm a light heavy, but I'm getting to 250 in the off season. The fuck is wrong with you? You're probably extremely unhealthy. Like one, you're probably extremely unhealthy, and two, you're going to be doing a lot more work than you have to get back in shape to probably be like 7 to 8 pounds heavier on stage.
Right.
So find a sweet spot where you feel good, like you physically feel good, you sleep well, you train well, your logbook is progressing, and that weight shouldn't stray off a lot week to week from there. There should be some kind of a slow gain or a gain in the general aspect of like the last 3 to 4 weeks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then if you, let's say you have a weight cap, like let's say your weight class has a weight cap, if you're in classic physique and you're a pussy, because I knew that was coming. If you have a weight cap, like let's say you get towards like where you're like 20 pounds above your weight cap and you don't want to get any heavier, but you still have like 4 or 5 months left in the off season, that's fine. Well, why don't you keep your weight around there and just let your body get stronger and recombat that weight? You're still going to gain muscle there. So don't have to get like 40, 50, 60 pounds over where you compete. I would actually not recommend that. But find a sweet spot where you feel really good. That's kind of just the best way I can answer it. You look okay, but you feel good and you perform well in the gym.
Yep.
That's kind of how I would answer it. Then I have another one. Shit, I have like four more, but let's keep that one to be the last one.
Last one.
Here, let me pick a good one.
Yep, pick a good one. Come on, make a damn decision here. Let's go.
Okay, so if you guys, well, we kind of answered that with the weak body part. But I guess we could touch on it. When you are trying to grow a particular body part, do you take a rest day right after?
I take a rest day before. What's that? You say something, Tommy? I can't hear you.
Tommy's dead.
Can you hear him, Marcel?
I can't hear Tommy.
No.
Now he can't talk back.
Something went out. I don't know if it's a microphone.
Yeah, I don't see him. Yeah, I think his microphone went out.
Tommy, can you speak sign language, Tommy?
Did he mute himself?
I don't
Tommy,
know.
Did you mute yourself, Tommy?
It looks like his speaker's off. I can see on my screen. I don't know if you can see on his screen down there, right?
Yeah, I don't see. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Can I unmute him? I don't know. Let's see.
Maybe.
I muted his ass now.
Okay.
Nope. Hold on. Let's see. Fucking Tommy. We were doing so good, man. We were doing so good on not having technical issues this time around.
Is
Yeah.
there any
Well.
way? Is there a mute button or
Oh,
anything?
he might
on
be
it?
back. Oh, is Tommy back?
No.
No, Tommy's not back.
God damn it, Tommy.
Fucking Tommy.
Jesus
This
Christ.
is gonna be the best one.
He's gone. He's gone now.
There we go. Try it now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Jesus.
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, and then I said I agree with Isaac. The day before, I would take off for a weak body part.
Why the day before and not the day after?
So I go into the session fresh, and I could, if I wanted to, even structure my nutrition to where it's a higher caloric day the day before. All of those extra calories are likely going to be assimilated by that training session. So if I do a cheat meal personally, I structure it where it's for the next day's lift. Like I don't like that whole post lift, eat heavy shit. I don't usually have an appetite after I train, especially with legs. So if I was doing legs tomorrow and I wanted to load for that day, then I would have sushi tonight.
Okay.
Eat a bunch of soy sauce, make sure my blood pressure's through the roof, and then we'll go for it.
Yeah, buddy.
Out of sight, out of mind, right? Don't ever take your blood pressure as a bodybuilder, and you're all good. How's your blood pressure? Normal. I never check it.
It'll be good after that day, but yeah, I'm gonna load some sodium.
Yeah,
so there's some fluid around the ankles.
And once again, I'm gonna answer it in a fucking weird way of like, do it the way you feel like it benefits you the most. You know, I personally would like to have a high food day before and take a rest day after. That's the way I would go about it. Because I would like to have that recover. Well, it also depends what I'm training the next day, I guess, would be my.
So wait. So you would have a high food day the day
Prior.
before that week, but you would train on that day as well, is what you're saying?
I would rather take the rest day after my weak body part day.
Right, I understand. But you would still train that day before the weak body part with a higher food day before, right? Is that what you're saying or no? I'm
Yes.
just trying to get it right.
Well, it depends. Depending how my program is. Like I'm saying, like I will definitely take a rest day after, and who knows if I have if I want to take a rest day before, I can as well. But I think I would take the rest after, and then have the high food definitely the day before.
Okay.
So, I like to let my weak body part like recover, but what like I'm saying, it could depend on like what I'm training the next day as well. Like if I'm gonna be working like legs, right? For my weak body part, would it hurt me to train like arms the day after? Probably not, right? If you feel like you're ready to go, you're not touching your legs, and your sleep was good enough, and then your caloric intake was high enough, then I don't see why you couldn't do that in the grand scheme of things. But usually after like a really heavy weak body part session, I would like to take a rest day.
Okay. Got it.
That's just my opinion on. But there's no wrong way of doing it. It's definitely whatever you feel like works for you, where you can go into this session with the best attitude and the best mental approach, and I guess the best physical approach that works for you, because everything we fucking do is so hard to just say that, yeah, that's the way you definitely should do it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's just my 2 cents on things. Anyway, anything else? No, we've answered enough questions. We definitely got these questions take longer to answer than we usually think. So, but hopefully we answered some good questions for you guys. Anybody else want to add anything?
Oh man, I'm all good. It's a good one.
Not
Tommy?
bad, yeah. Time to
Not
eat.
bad at all. Yeah. Before we go, this is what my wife was talking about. When she said she folded like a lawn chair. So she was doing Sissy Smith squats, right? And she had a plate on there, a plate aside, and she was doing the reps. And I see that she's kind of she did like 5 or 6, and she's starting to struggle there. And she's like, and this is like her 3rd set in, and she's like, I want to see if I can do 2 plates aside. And I'm like, you're not doing that. Don't do it. Don't put it fucking on there. She goes, no, I can do this. I got this, babe. All right. So, I figured I'm going to whip out the camera for this one. It's a very short clip because right after she folded, I had to try and go and help her because she was literally under the bar. So let's see if we could see this. Hold on. Let's see. Can you guys kind of see that? There we go.
Right there. Hold it. Yeah.
Let me see if I can hit play. Okay, it's very. Oh, let me turn up the volume because the volume is where it's at.
Yeah, it is. I've seen this like a few times.
Her birthday's next Friday. We should definitely play that for her on next Friday as well too. Okay, let's see if I can press play and make sure you guys listen.
Oh, that's it.
No, could you hear it or no?
I couldn't hear it. No, I couldn't hear it.
Hold on, let's see if it's maybe if I get it closer to the microphone here. Let's see if we can see that. The volume is the best part. She just takes the bar, she goes, nope, and just folds straight down. So let's see if you guys can see that.
You can't hear it though.
You can't hear it. What the fuck?
No.
Here, let's see.
No. Got it that time.
What? No. Anyway,
she sounded like she shit on herself. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. She just picks it up, just goes straight down. Nope. So yeah, don't do 2 plates on a Smith sissy squat when you clearly know you can't do them. You'll fall like a lawn chair. Yep. Anyway, Tommy, drop your Instagram and where people can find you.
Stiles2, Stiles, and then my website, stylesstrength.com. And then YouTube, Tommy Stiles, too.
Yeah. Tommy's got the good videos now, eating sushi and shit. And
anymore. We're dieting, boys.
No,
I throw some likes on there for you, dude.
I'm actually extremely offended right now. Wow. Tommy's got a fucking YouTube.
Bring it.
And we haven't gotten a fucking invite to train or to eat sushi.
And Tommy?
That's pretty much saying go fuck yourselves without saying go fuck yourselves. But we'll just leave it at that.
Isaac knows I've invited you guys. You West Valley boys, you operate on your own time zone out there.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I want to do legs, but you train legs on Sunday. My wife works on Sunday, so it's like that one's hard for me.
Oh, I'm off the Sunday routine now.
Oh, okay, you moved it?
Yeah, I train them whenever now. So
okay,
just
cool.
message me ahead of time. We can always
set it up,
make something
Saturday.
happen. So
let's make something happen Saturday.
Well,
unless you guys are scared of a classic bodybuilder coming in showing you guys what's up.
As long as Dusty doesn't show up, I'm good.
No, isn't he?
Dusty and Todd. If Todd's not there with the camera, we're all good.
That's what it is. It's the camera. It's not even Dusty.
The camera.
It's the fucking camera, man.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Bring your camera, boy.
No.
He's there.
That's it. That's it.
But man, we can we'll nail something down. I'm off right now till Wednesday, so I'm getting blood work Wednesday morning.
There you go. There you go. Make sure you load up on sodium the day before your blood work, and a lot of red meat, and then have a really hard leg session right before.
Yeah. No, all the wrong advice. And make sure you drink no water the morning of. Don't drink it.
Yeah.
That's it. A lot of sodium. A lot of sodium night before. Don't drink anything from that point on.
Yeah, take a diuretic the night before. It's a good one.
Oh, right.
Your blood work will be A-okay.
Mint.
Yeah. Anyway,
right,
thanks guys, and we'll get this one up shortly. And peace till the next one.
All right, man.
All right, boys.
Yep.
Peace.
Take it easy.